Hello and welcome to Eden's Perspective. I am here interviewing my fellow castmate, Miss Melanie Thompson. So, Melanie, what do you think about the show?
It's incredible, to say the least. I mean, just process-wise, it's been pretty amazing. Oh, goodness, I can't think of good enough adjectives. It's been pretty amazing to, see the group of us come together and bring these stories to life and give people who don't have voices in this conversation, because that's what's important. At least that's what I've seen is important to me and the rest of my fellow castmates. So yeah, I love it.
Speaking of the process, can you tell us a little bit more about what that exactly entails?
Alright, so the process of this show was basically us defining what tolerance was, what intolerance was, what it was to us, our own experiences, sharing that, being comfortable to share that, and then it led into the interviews. We use verbatim interviews in our show, so everything is pretty much not word for word technically, but everything that is in this show is based off of real experiences. And so, to compile our show, what we did was we took very different interviews, we wrote different scripts based off of stories, and put our show together.
Okay, so what made you want to do this show?
Well, I shared this earlier, and I'll share this with you. I lost just edit that out. Well, when I lost family members this past summer, 2 very young family members, to gun violence. Very senseless, very tragic, and I always wanted to do something about the violence that was going on in Chicago. Just last year, I'd lost a friend. Not necessarily a friend, but someone that I knew in my school, and it hit so close to home, and I wasn't prepared for it. And then I lost my 2 cousins, and it broke me in a way I wasn't prepared for, and it gave me this passion, this fire that I needed to do something, because I couldn't just let my cousin's life be lost in vain. And I was determined to do something to speak about him and to have his voice heard.
If you could do one thing to make the world a better place, what would you do?
That's a very big question, my friend. So much. I think that I'd start with perspective and allowing every person to have one. I think that's something that we lack in general, is the fact that we don't think about another person. We're so quick to think about ourselves and to think about our own experience and to think about how this is affecting me. And we're very, 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 very quick to negate the fact that we as people are, it's not just one person, it's a whole, I believe that we're put on this earth for relationship, and we're put on this earth together for a reason. And there's no reason that we should put each other to the wayside. And so if I were to change anything, I'd change that idea of selfishness, Just take it out of everybody,
I think that would involve killing some people, because I honestly think it's so deeply enrooted in some people.
Well, then let's start with being able to find a way to not kill them and take that selfishness out of them at the same time. Let's try that.
What are your opinions on tolerance and intolerance?
I think that this play has taught me a lot, and it's definitely changed my idea of it. Now I have to say that tolerance is both dangerous and helpful. It's taught me how to this play has taught me how to define those things. And my opinion on tolerance is that if you're tolerant of something that you shouldn't be tolerant of, well, then that's not real tolerance, And I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with tolerance, actually, now that I've done this play. I don't think I necessarily agree with the idea of what it means to be tolerant in some situations, especially violent. I think that but I also think that when being tolerant, in a sense of people understanding, that's what tolerance should be, Sorry if that was confusing. Collecting my thought on it.
It is fine, Miss Melanie. It is fine.
Thank you.
So, What do you think society as a whole's ideas on tolerance and intolerance are?
I think people are really in the dark about it. I don't think they understand what tolerance and intolerance are. Tolerance and intolerance are. And just from my own experience being in high school, I see people who don't even recognize that they're being intolerant or don't recognize that they're tolerating things that they shouldn't. So I think there's an ignorance in it.
What do you think we should do to fix this ignorance outside of display? Because display is making a large step towards it.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think could be done to help outside of this?
Well, I think that we as a collective, this cast, has become ambassadors for peace and for tolerance and for upstanding. I think that we as a collective need to take that outside of this rehearsal hall. We need to take this out of A-Rot, and we've got to implement it in our schools. We got to implement it in our churches. We got to implement it in our places of business. We need to start practicing what we preach.
Why, thank you, Miss Melanie.
Thank you, Miss Eden.
See you on the flip side.
Alrighty, girl.